There's a reason you're here. Not by accident, not by algorithm, not by chance. You clicked because something deeper than logic pulled you toward this moment. And if you're feeling that subtle recognition right now, that quiet sense of, yes, this is for me, then you already know what I'm about to tell you is true. You've been searching, maybe not consciously, maybe not with words, but your energy has been reaching out, asking questions that don't have simple answers. Questions like, why does everything feel so heavy? Why do I keep repeating the same patterns? Why can't I just be at peace? And the universe, in its strange and perfect timing, has a way of delivering answers exactly when you're ready to receive them. Not before, not after. Now. This video isn't entertainment. It's not background noise while you scroll through your life on autopilot. This is a mirror. And mirrors don't lie. They show you what's really there, not what you wish was there. So before we go any further, I need you to make a choice. Are you ready to look? Really look? Because once you see what I'm about to show you, you can't unsee it. And that's the point. Let me ask you something. How many times have you felt like you're living someone else's life? Going through motions that don't feel like yours? Saying yes when everything inside you screams no? Smiling when you're exhausted? Pretending you're fine when you're barely holding it together? You've become so good at performing that you've forgotten what it feels like to just be. And somewhere along the way, you started believing that this is just how life is, that everyone feels this disconnected, that suffering is normal, that peace is for other people. But here's the truth that nobody wants to tell you. You're not lost. You're buried under expectations that were never yours, under beliefs you inherited without questioning, under fears that don't even belong to you. You've been carrying other people's voices in your head for so long that you can't hear your own anymore. And the weight of all that, the accumulated shoulds and musts and have-tos, has crushed the part of you that knows exactly who you are and what you need. You were meant to find this message right now because you've reached a threshold. You're standing at the edge of something. Maybe it's a breakdown, maybe it's a breakthrough, maybe it's both. But you can feel it, can't you? That restlessness, that sense that something fundamental needs to change, that voice that keeps whispering, there has to be more than this. That's not anxiety. That's not weakness. That's your soul demanding to be heard. And before you dismiss this as just another self-help video telling you to think positive and manifest your dreams, let me be clear. I'm not here to give you a quick fix. I'm not here to sell you a 5-step formula or a morning routine that will magically transform your life. I'm here to tell you something far more essential. You already have everything you need. You've always had it. But you've been looking in the wrong direction. If you're still here, if you haven't clicked away to find something easier to digest, then do me a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Not because I need it, but because you need to mark this moment. You need to acknowledge that something in you said yes to this message, that you're choosing right now to stop running from the truth. And while you're at it, hit the like button. Let the algorithm know that real content that doesn't coddle you, content that respects your intelligence, deserves to reach more people who are ready for it. Now let's go deeper. You know what the real tragedy is? It's not that life is hard. It's not that you've faced obstacles or pain or disappointment. The real tragedy is that you've been taught to betray yourself every single day, in small ways and big ways. You've been taught that your needs are selfish, that your boundaries are mean, that your truth is too much, that your sensitivity is a weakness, that your desire for something different is ungrateful. So you learn to shrink, to accommodate, to twist yourself into shapes that don't fit just so other people would be comfortable. You learn to say, I'm fine, when you're not. To laugh at jokes that hurt. To stay in situations that drain you. To love people who don't see you. And you called this maturity. You called this being a good person. You called this strength. But let me tell you what it actually is. Self-abandonment. And you've gotten so good at it that you don't even notice it anymore. It's become your default mode. Your nervous system has adapted to operate in survival mode so consistently that peace feels foreign. Dangerous even. Because if you're not hypervigilant, if you're not constantly managing everyone else's emotions and needs, If you're not proving your worth through productivity and performance, then who are you? That's the question that terrifies you, isn't it? Who am I without all the roles I play? Who am I without the mask? Who am I when I'm not trying to be what everyone else needs me to be? And this is exactly why you were meant to find this message right now. Because you're finally ready to meet yourself, the real you. Not the version you've been performing, not the idea of who you think you should be, but the essential, sovereign, unfiltered you that exists underneath all the conditioning. Here's what I need you to understand. That person, the real you, has been trying to get your attention for years, through anxiety that won't go away no matter how much you try to manage it, through depression that settles over you like fog, through chronic fatigue that no amount of sleep can fix, through relationships that keep failing in the same ways, through jobs that leave you feeling empty no matter how successful you are, through addictions and distractions and compulsions that promise relief but deliver nothing. Your symptoms aren't the problem, they're the messengers. They're your soul's way of saying, stop, look at me, listen to me, I'm dying here. And you've been treating the messengers like enemies, trying to silence them, medicating them, meditating them away, positive thinking them into submission. But they keep coming back because the message hasn't been received. So what's the message? What is your soul trying to tell you? It's simple. It's so simple that you've overlooked it 1,000 times. Here it is. You're allowed to be yourself. You're allowed to want what you want. You're allowed to need what you need. You're allowed to say no. You're allowed to walk away. You're allowed to choose peace over performance. You're allowed to disappoint people. You're allowed to be misunderstood. You're allowed to outgrow relationships that no longer fit. You're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to rest. You're allowed to take up space. You're allowed to exist without justifying your existence. Read that again. Let it land. Because somewhere in your conditioning, you learned that none of that was true. You learned that love is conditional, that belonging requires conformity, that acceptance demands sacrifice, that you have to earn the right to be treated with dignity, and you've been operating from that belief system ever since. But what if it was all a lie? What if the people who taught you those things were just passing on their own wounds? What if the culture that shaped you was designed to keep you small and compliant and productive? What if everything you thought you knew about how to live was actually keeping you from living? This is the threshold I mentioned earlier. This is the edge you're standing on. On one side is everything familiar. The patterns, the people-pleasing, the performance, the pain that you know how to manage. On the other side is unknown territory. Sovereignty, authenticity, peace, truth, selective presence, energy that's yours to protect and direct. And here's the thing about thresholds. You can't cross them halfway. You can't keep one foot in the old life and one foot in the new one. You can't claim your truth while still living according to other people's expectations. You can't choose yourself while still abandoning yourself to keep the peace. You have to jump, fully, completely, with no guarantee of what's on the other side except this. It will be real. It will be yours. Now I know what you're thinking. But what about my responsibilities? What about the people who depend on me? What about my job, my family, my obligations? And I'm not telling you to blow up your life. I'm not telling you to quit everything and run away to a mountaintop. I'm telling you something far more radical and far more essential. You can honor your commitments without betraying yourself. You can be responsible without abandoning your needs. You can love people without losing yourself in them. The shift isn't external. It's internal. It's about the energy you bring to your life. It's about the consciousness you operate from. It's about remembering that you're not a supporting character in someone else's story. You're the author of your own. And right now, you've been letting other people hold the pen. Take it back. Let me give you an example. There's a woman, let's call her Sarah, who spent 35 years being the good daughter, the supportive wife, the perfect mother, the reliable friend. She said yes to everything. She showed up for everyone. She put herself last on every list and called it love. And one day, she found herself in the emergency room with chest pains. The doctors ran every test. There was nothing physically wrong with her heart, but Sarah knew the truth. Her heart was breaking, not from disease, from denial, from years of pretending she didn't matter. That ER visit was her threshold moment. And when she told me her story, she said something I'll never forget. I realized I'd been dying my whole life in small ways, trying not to die, trying to be so good, so accommodating, so low maintenance that people would want to keep me around. But I was disappearing, and nobody even noticed because I'd gotten so good at making my absence invisible. Does that resonate? Have you been disappearing? Have you been making yourself smaller and quieter and easier to digest? Have you been apologizing for having needs, for taking up space, for being human? If you're nodding right now, if tears are coming, if you feel that ache of recognition, comment below and just say, "I see it." You don't have to explain. You don't have to tell your story unless you want to. Just mark this moment. Acknowledge what you're realizing, because awareness is the first step, and you can't change what you can't see. Here's what Sarah did. She didn't leave her husband. She didn't abandon her kids. She didn't quit her job. She did something simpler and more profound. She started telling the truth. Small truths at first. "No, I don't want to go to that party. Actually, I need some time alone this weekend. I'm not comfortable with that. That doesn't work for me." And every truth she told was terrifying, because she'd spent her whole life believing that her honesty would destroy everything. But you know what actually happened? Some people got uncomfortable. Some people pushed back. Some people accused her of being selfish. And she let them. She let them be uncomfortable. She let them have their feelings without making those feelings her responsibility. And the people who really loved her, the ones who saw her as a whole person, not just a function, they adjusted. They respected her boundaries. They appreciated her authenticity. And the ones who couldn't handle it, they fell away. And that was okay. Because Sarah learned something essential. The relationships you lose by being yourself are relationships you never really had. You were only holding space for a version of you that didn't exist. And that's not connection. That's performance art. This is the work. This is what you are meant to discover right now. Not a technique, not a strategy, but a fundamental reorientation to your own life. A remembering that you matter, that your needs are valid, that your truth is essential, that your peace is non-negotiable. And I'm not going to lie to you, this path isn't easy. When you start choosing yourself, when you start honoring your truth, when you start setting boundaries and saying no and taking up space, people will react. Some will celebrate you, some will fear you, some will try to pull you back into the box you used to occupy. Because your evolution threatens their comfort, your authenticity highlights their performance, your peace reveals their chaos. But here's what you need to know. Their reaction is not your responsibility. Their discomfort is not your problem to solve. Their resistance is not a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's confirmation that you're doing something right. Because the systems and relationships and patterns that benefited from your self-abandonment don't want you to wake up. They want you to stay small, stay quiet, stay compliant, stay available, and you're not available anymore. Not like that. Not at the cost of yourself. This is your sovereignty. This is what it means to reclaim your energy, to become selective about where you invest your attention, your time, your presence, to recognize that not everyone deserves access to you, that some conversations aren't worth having, that some relationships aren't worth maintaining, that some battles aren't worth fighting. Peace isn't something you find. It's something you create by eliminating everything that disrupts it. And yes, that includes people. That includes family members who don't respect your boundaries. That includes friends who drain your energy. That includes partners who don't see you. That includes anyone who requires you to betray yourself in order to maintain the relationship. This is the truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Some people are incompatible with your peace, and you get to choose peace. Every single time. Now I want you to pause for a moment. Take a breath. Notice what's happening in your body as you hear these words. Is there resistance? Is there relief? Is there fear? Is there recognition? All of it is information. All of it is pointing you towards something true. If you're feeling resistance, if part of you is arguing with what I'm saying, finding exceptions, thinking, but my situation is different, that's your conditioning speaking. That's the voice of everyone who ever taught you that your needs don't matter. Listen to it. Thank it for trying to protect you, and then choose differently. If you're feeling relief, if something in you is saying, yes, finally, someone understands, that's your soul. That's the part of you that's been waiting for permission to exist, to take up space, to matter. You don't need permission, but if you do, here it is. You're allowed. You're allowed to be yourself, fully, unapologetically. Now, let me tell you what happens when you start living from this place, when you start choosing truth over performance, when you start honoring yourself instead of abandoning yourself. Life doesn't become easier, necessarily, but it becomes real. And real is what you've been starving for. Real means you stop waking up exhausted from maintaining a persona. Real means you stop having conversations where you say everything except what matters. Real means you stop relationships where you're accepted for who you pretend to be and rejected for who you are. Real means you stop living in the gap between your public face and your private truth. And when that gap closes, when who you are matches how you live, something extraordinary happens. You stop bleeding energy. You stop feeling depleted by your own life. You stop needing to escape into distractions and addictions and fantasies because your reality becomes something you want to be present for. This is the promise of this path. Not happiness, not success, not external validation, but alignment, congruence, integrity in the truest sense, where all the parts of you are integrated, whole, undivided, where you're the same person alone as you are in public, where your actions match your values, where your life reflects your truth, and from that place everything changes. The people you attract change. The opportunities that come to you change. The energy you bring to each day changes. Because you're no longer fragmenting yourself to fit into spaces that weren't designed for you. You're no longer contorting to meet expectations that have nothing to do with your essential nature. You're just you. And just you is enough. It's always been enough. You just forgot. So here's your assignment if you're ready for it. I want you to ask yourself one question. What would I do differently if I actually believed I mattered? Not in some abstract philosophical way, but in a concrete day-to-day, decision-by-decision way. What would you say no to? What would you say yes to? Who would you spend less time with? Who would you reach out to? What would you stop tolerating? What would you finally allow yourself to want? Write it down. Not because writing makes it magical, but because clarity requires articulation. You can't change what you can't name. And you've been avoiding naming it because naming it means you'll have to do something about it. And doing something about it means your life will change. And change is terrifying even when it's necessary. But you didn't find this video by accident. You found it because some part of you is ready. Ready to stop performing. Ready to stop pretending. Ready to stop abandoning yourself. Ready to start living as if you matter, because you do. Before I let you go, I need you to do two things. First, make sure you're subscribed to this channel, because this conversation isn't over. There's more truth to unpack, more patterns to expose, more permission to grant yourself, and you need to be here for it. Second, drop a comment. Tell me what this brought up for you. What are you finally ready to face? What are you finally ready to change? Your words matter, your voice matters, use it. And if you know someone, a friend, a family member, a colleague, who needs to hear this message, share this video with them. Not because you want to fix them, but because you recognize the same struggle in their eyes. Because you know what it's like to feel invisible. Because you understand the weight of living according to other people's scripts. Share it as an act of love. As a way of saying, I see you and you're not alone. This isn't random. None of this is random. You are meant to be here right now receiving this message. And what you do with it, that's up to you. You can close this video and go back to the familiar patterns. Or you can let it crack something open. You can let it be the moment when everything shifted. When you stopped asking for permission and started claiming your sovereignty. The choice is yours. It's always been yours. You've just been waiting for the right moment to remember that. That moment is now. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, choose yourself. Every single day, every single moment. Choose yourself.